Okay, hello. Yeah, welcome. I'm Talia, and I make things, and this is where I post videos about them. Yeah, so today, I've actually just filmed another video, probably the previous one that you've seen, but I changed my sweater, changed the project I'm working on, so that this can be a whole new video. Yeah, I didn't feel like stopping knitting and chatting with you guys, and I don't wear makeup that often, so yeah, I thought I'd make the most of the situation. Yes, so today I was not done chatting with you guys, so I wanted to chat about my unpopular knitting opinions. I know most of them are probably not going to be super unpopular, and I also just wanted to mention that this is inspired by the Harry knit. Yeah, that's what she is, her name here on YouTube. Bash Harry is her full name, but yeah, her I was gonna say screen name. She's not an actor, but yeah, so on YouTube I actually like that idea, screen name. Yeah, I associate that with actors. Isn't that like also your like online persona? Anyway, I didn't need to go on that tangent. I just wanted to say that she did a video about her unpopular knitting opinions. I really enjoyed it, and I could think of a few more. So I, yeah, wanted to say some things and have some opinions publicly. I then also wanted to say a little disclaimer that I never ever want to be like mean to anyone, and actually I'm going to be looking down because I have them written here, but actually like they're all kind of fun and a bit silly, so yeah, that's like my favorite kind of unpopular opinion that I'll just like random. I don't have any real like out of left field ones, which that's really my favorite. Yeah, I love when people come up with just like wild things. This is not wild stuff, and it's probably like I said, not too unpopular, but it was just some things that I was thinking about, and I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to knit at the same time. So firstly, let me talk about what I'm wearing. So this is my Alone Together sweater, which is a pattern by Lea Kabaga, who I have mentioned previously is my favorite knitwear designer of all time. By the way, I am so excited that she released her book in German. Yeah, I must say, because the previous cover, like the pink, iconic pink cover that she spent ages designing, picking the colors for and so on, that's unfortunately not the cover for the English version. So I'd kind of resigned myself to getting the one that wasn't as visually appealing, but now, because I can speak German, I have decided I'm going to buy the German version because that has the pink cover, and that's also going to just be easier to get to my connections overseas, because that's going to have to be the way that I get hold of the thing, because I live in South Africa, and that is shipping is expensive and tough. So yeah, anyway, that was way too much information about this one book that I'm excited about, but anyway, so this is a free pattern. Yeah, it's just like a big like straight, yeah, it's a bunch of rectangles with some neck shaping, but it is probably my favorite thing I've ever made. I absolutely love the color work technique. It's super easy. I mean, this is one of the first garments I ever knit, and somehow I managed like a really fantastic gradient. because I had a bunch of this green yarn left from a different project, and I wanted to make a gradient with the white. Yeah, this is all scraps. I didn't buy any new yarn for this. Yeah, I should actually wear this more often. I think the neckline bothers me a little bit. It's a bit like tubular, so I think I might actually unravel it and then, I don't know, do something else. You know, yeah, maybe just knit a longer one, so that it's, yeah, anyway, just thinking out loud. But yeah, so that's what I'm wearing, and what I am working on is my bad idea blanket, which it's not, it wasn't intentional that both the thing that I'm wearing and the thing that I'm making is a lekker vage design. But yeah, as I have said previously, very little of what I make is not inspired by her in some way, or her work in some way. I think she's just in general a very inspiring person as well. I highly recommend following her. Yeah, so this is it. If you watched my first knitting podcast, which was also my first video, you will have seen the first panel of this. I did not expect to get so far in a second panel. I mean, look at this. I wasn't even done with that video. I mean that panel in the last video, and I'm already this far. I have been absolutely addicted to this. It's so much fun to knit. It's just plain garter stitch, and it's yeah, I just love it so much, and it's so nice to be able to use up all your scraps. Unfortunately, what has happened now, because I've been trying to like vary the colors, what's happened now is that I don't have enough of a variety of scraps left. I'm gonna have to either go to the charity shops to get some more, or just knit more projects and then use the scraps from that, which will be very sad because I've been enjoying this project a lot. But most of my scraps now are like, I've actually moved on to slightly bigger balls, but I've got like green and purple and blue and pink, and I have a lot more here, but it's basically that. It's green and blue and purple and pink, which as you can kind of see, that's kind of where I've been going, you know, kind of around here. I sort of started only using that kind of color scheme, and I don't want the blanket to just be those colors, so I'm gonna have to pause or slow down a little bit on that. But I think it'll be fine if I continue knitting in this video. And as I mentioned, this is all in garter stitch, and I'd like to mention that as my first unpopular opinion. I think garter stitch is underrated, and I understand why. It's got like this texture that we're not necessarily used to. I think stockinette is something a lot of people gravitate towards just because it's what we're used to in machine knit, or you know, shop bought sweaters. It's a thinner, smoother fabric. It's easier to see color work, it's easier to do color work. I don't know, I don't think you can do fair owl in garter stitch? I'm very interested to research that, but yeah, if you do know about that, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to get better at that, by the way, asking people to put things in the comments because I am not just talking to a camera, I am eventually talking on the YouTube platform, which has things like comments and subscription buttons, which you should click, by the way, if you want more of this. So yeah, I completely understand why people don't prefer necessarily to work with garter stitch. I'm also someone who really loves to work in the round. Ever since I learned how to knit in the round, I was like, you know, it takes a bit more out of me to knit something flat. Except for this, obviously. This has just like happened way too quickly. But yeah, I think I'm also sensing a resurgence of garter stitch. I think we're going to see a lot more people working with it. I've seen a lot of people expressing this unpopular opinion that garter stitch is underrated. And yeah, I'm all for it. Bring back the garter stitch. I think it makes a lovely squishy fabric. The texture is really lovely. I also think it looks, I don't know, it's kind of fun, like when you change colours you've got that like extra stripe there. I know some people will absolutely hate that, but as someone who works a lot with scraps and likes interesting transitions for colour, for different colours, and likes working with different colours, I think this is right up my alley. So yeah, I'd love to actually knit a garter stitch sweater. I just need to build up the courage to do a seam sweater again, because this is a seam sweater, so maybe I could knit this in a garter stitch. I know in her book Leake Barger's got a pattern for kind of a similar jersey, but like with but yeah, in garter stitch. I can't remember if it's like raglan or something. I can't remember, but yeah, maybe I will knit one of these in garter stitch. So yeah, that was the first one, is that garter stitch is underrated. And following from that, I would like to express the opinion that balloon sleeves are completely overrated. I think I'm not alone in this necessarily. I think you know, balloon sleeves is a trend that's been around for a while now, especially in the knitting community, and it is I think coming to an end. I think we are, yeah, slowly but surely going to see less of them. I think in the patterns for beginner knitters space, and just in general beginner knitters space, we're still going to see loads of balloon sleeve sweaters, simply because they are easy. You require very little shaping for them. I do realize I'm saying this as I'm wearing something that has kind of balloon sleeves, although this isn't really a balloon sleeve. This is just like, it just comes in a little bit, but it's not like one of those that are like super puffy and then they come tight around the wrist. I have a few sweaters like that, you know, and I will wear them, and I do like them. And I know I have expressed this in a previous video, but I am kind of over them now. You know, I know they're easy and I know they're accessible for beginner knitters, but I think it would be nice to see more beginner patterns that have more tapered sleeves, or even just like straight sleeves. I think those look great. Yeah, maybe a little bit difficult if you, you know, I mentioned that I think in a previous video, not in this video, I mentioned that I think that balloon sleeves are impractical because they don't fit into jackets so easily, and also because if you're like reaching over something, it'll like, yeah, especially if you're eating. I always like reach over with my one hand under here like that. So your clothes don't get in your food. But yeah, and open sleeve sweaters are similarly, or maybe even worse in that sense. But I think looks wise they look great. Yeah, so I think that's another kind of unpopular opinion. I do realize that this can come across as a little bit like, you know, be better at knitting, don't, you know, knit only the easy things, which is not what I'm trying to say at all. I just wanted to say that I'm a little bit tired of them personally, and as someone who is becoming a little bit more comfortable with just knitting more complicated garments, I think we can move. I think beginners can move past balloon sleeves very quickly if they choose to. Obviously, if you love balloon sleeve sweaters, knit yourself like 100 of them. I don't care. I don't care what other people wear. I don't care what other people knit necessarily. But just for me personally, I don't think I'll be making any balloon sleeve sweaters anytime soon again. And yeah, so I think this is number 3. I think that the hate against acrylic yarn, and just like synthetic yarns in general, but it's mainly acrylic, I think people hate acrylic too much. I think people need to stop bashing acrylic, and, you know, stop glorifying wool as the be-all and end-all of fabric, fibre that you can knit with. I think, this could be a whole video all in itself. Yeah, I think the knitter Wonderco Creations on Instagram has said some really great things about this. She's definitely an advocate for acrylic. She uses all different colours, yes, different colours, but different types of fibres, and I think it's great, you know, to experiment with different fibres and so on. But I've seen so many knitters almost get like, they'll maybe start off with acrylic and then eventually they get almost like grossed out by it. They're like, ugh, you know, acrylic, so gross and like horrible, why did I ever, you know, knit something in this? Now I only use, you know, these brands of natural fibres, and, you know, this is so much softer and this is so much better. If you're going to spend so much time on something, why use a cheap, you know, unsustainable fabric like or fibre like acrylic? And I think that's kind of offensive, to be honest, to speak about acrylic in that way. Obviously it's not a sustainable fibre. It is plastic based, you know, it's made out of non-renewable materials. It gives off microplastics when you wash it. It is plastic, it's made of plastic, it's not going to biodegrade. But I don't think that it deserves the hate that it gets. As I have said before, I like to work with acrylic, especially certain types of higher-end acrylic that I just find more comfortable for me to wear. Like, I have certain wool jerseys that I will only pull out in the depths of winter, even though they're not that thick, so that I can wear like a cotton turtleneck underneath or an acrylic turtleneck underneath, because I can't stand the feeling of that on my skin. Like the other day I was wearing a lovely, like a really lovely wool jersey. I didn't make it, I bought it secondhand, but I got a little bit hot and I rolled up my sleeves, and then the edge of the sleeve touched my bare skin, and I just like hated it. It was terrible. So I didn't want to, you know, yeah, I didn't want to wear it like just by itself, and I was limited in the ways that I could wear it. So I think there are certainly fibers, there's certain wools that I'm okay with, and that some people are okay with. Everyone has a different level of tolerance for certain fibers against their skin. But I don't think we should be making people feel bad about using acrylic. For that reason and for various others as well, I think, you know, we like to speak about how everyone can knit, and, you know, making your own clothes is it's so beneficial for your mental health. It is beneficial in terms of getting an appreciation for craft, for yeah, it's definitely a big part of the slow fashion movement, because, you know, even if you are still buying fast fashion, maybe it changes the way that you think about how you consume clothes, because you understand how much work goes into making them. And I don't think it's fair to kind of to gatekeep such a hobby that has been so beneficial to so many people, by saying that acrylic is not acceptable. I think yeah, I think we should stop hating on acrylic so much. Yeah, like I said, I know it's bad for the environment, but I believe that there are other ways that you can be sustainable. I still think that a woolen sweater that you never wear, or a stash of wool that you never use, is never going to be as sustainable as something that you wear, that you make and wear. You know, even if you wash it and there's microplastics and all of that kind of stuff. Nobody's perfect when it comes to sustainability, and I think it's a very nuanced argument. I think I'm getting deeper into this than I actually intended, but I think it's important. Yeah, like I said, nobody's perfect, and there are things that you can choose. I think you can choose the ways in which you want to be sustainable, the ways that are feasible for you, in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of your financial situation. And if you want to make your own clothes, if you want to knit your own garments, but the only thing that you can afford is acrylic, I don't think you should be made to feel bad about that. I think that is admirable. I think anyone making their own clothes is admirable. Yeah, not to like bash people who don't make their own clothes, obviously, but I think, you know, in this space and so on, we are speaking about people who do create things. Yeah, so I think it's perfectly acceptable to use acrylic. I think overconsumption is a far larger problem than acrylic yarn. I think there are so many knitters that have massive stashes. I by no means have a small stash, obviously. I like to justify it by saying that that's just how I knit, because I do work with scraps mostly, and, you know, it's part of my creative process to look at what I have and decide what I want to make out of it. It excites me, it makes me happy to see, you know, all that material and all that potential, but it is not an overwhelming stash. I do have, you know, I foresee myself being able to use all of it, because I do knit so much, and because I do knit such like wild things. You know, it's not like, yeah, if I bring something brightly coloured into my stash, I'm not necessarily going to use it. I will use it somehow. But yeah, I think yeah, we need to be kinder to people. who are just getting into knitting as well. You know, if you're a beginner, you're not going to want to spend, you know, yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to mention numbers like that if you're not from like the US or Europe. But you know, I've seen sock yarns for like, sock yarns for like 200, 300, 400 rand, which might not be a lot. I'm not going to convert it now, but it might not be a lot for people in dollars or whatever. But you know, I live in a country where the majority of our population doesn't really have that much money, and even me, like I'm considered fairly well off in this country, but I think elsewhere I would maybe not. I don't know. That's something that, yeah, we don't need to talk about but now. But I think, you know, we have a lot of price sensitive people in this country, and I think that because of that, I don't think that we should try and shame people for wanting to use inexpensive materials. I think like I said, it's more important to be mindful about what you buy in terms of what you're going to be used and what you're going to love, rather than what the fiber content is necessarily, or the sustainability of that. Anyway, I don't know if that made any sense, but that's just something I feel really passionate about. And yeah, I mean, at one point I decided, because I do buy a lot of yarn secondhand and so on, I decided I was only going to buy secondhand yarn if it was like a natural fiber, or had like a high natural fiber content. And that didn't last very long, because that's not what's in the shops. We don't have a lot of access to, you know, a lot of brands of natural fiber in this country generally. So if I want like a wool or something from a secondhand shop, I have to buy a sweater normally to unravel. And you know, I'd rather, you know, save this acrylic from the landfill, not to mention how cool the colour is. I really like that colour. I'd rather save that from, you know, from the landfill or whatever, rather than just leave it behind just because it's acrylic. It exists. You know, my purchasing it is not going to tell some yarn company that that's in demand, and then it's not like they're going to make more because of that, because of my purchase. So yeah, so I think if you're worried about acrylic and supporting people who manufacture acrylic and so on, buying new acrylic, secondhand is great, and there's usually quite a lot of it. I can't speak for everywhere in the world, but here especially, because that's what we mainly have access to, is acrylic. And I think elsewhere as well. I think the way that we, or you know, the knitting community online and so on, there's so many like specific brands and wool brands and that kind of stuff that that I think it warps our perception of what is actually in the local yarn stores there, or in like a random craft store or something. I think there's a lot of acrylic there as well. It just doesn't feel like it to me, for example, who doesn't live in the US or in Europe. There is still a lot of acrylic there. So it's not just because I'm here that there's lots of acrylic. Yeah. Anyway, I definitely spoke about that for longer than I thought I was going to, but I think, like I said, I think it's important. I think we should not shame people. And yeah, that's that on that. And we are back. If the lighting has changed, tough. I was a bit ambitious, and yeah, the SD card got full, so I had to go and take care of that quickly. But yeah, I clearly went on way too long about the whole acrylic yarn opinion that I have about that. And I finally, this is my last opinion, just wanted to say that I think we should stop being so ashamed to be selfish knitters. At one point I was kind of the opinion that we shouldn't even use the term selfish knitter, because I think selfish is such a negative term, but I think in general it shouldn't be so negative. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with never knitting anything for anything else, anyone else. I think it's your hobby. We do this for fun generally, and because of that I don't think anyone should feel obligated to make anyone anything, and I think this in itself could also be a whole other video, but yeah, I've definitely made things for people, but generally it's because either like I'm really close to them, or I can very easily make them something that I will enjoy making, that I know that they will like and wear a lot. I mean, you know, if I've got a friend who doesn't really like to wear knitwear, I'm not really going to make something for them. If I'm not sure about how they'd feel about a certain item of clothing, if I don't know what what they like, I'm not going to make them something, because I want to make them something that they're going to really enjoy. There are a lot of people who pretty much only knit for other people, which I honestly don't understand. Maybe I'm just a very selfish person, but yeah, I also, I mean, it took me quite a long time to actually be confident enough in my skills to be able to make something that I was confident to give to someone else. I think I don't want to give someone something that looks too handmade. I'm happy to wear something that's a bit more handmade, because then I can choose what details I like, and so on. But if it's for someone else, you know, I kind of want it to look like something that's been made, you know, something that is store-bought, but like a bit luxurious, you know, and that knowledge that I've made it hopefully makes it a bit more special for them. Yeah, so I think we should stop being ashamed about that. I think gift knitting is a bit of a, yeah, it's a bit of a hot topic. I know a lot of people speak about it, especially around like close to the end of the year, the holiday season. I mean, I'd love to knit every single family member a pair of socks, but I just, firstly, I'm not that into sock knitting. Secondly, I don't want to give anyone anything that's made out of wool, because I don't want them to wash it and it shrink and then they can never use it. I don't want to give anyone anything that they are going to find uncomfortable. And I think, considering how large my family is, and you know, when you are in a serious relationship and so on, and they've also got a family, that, you know, that number just gets much bigger. It would take me all year to knit everyone a pair of socks. So, and I know some of them are watching this, so a lot of my family members have mentioned that they watched some of my videos. So if you are watching and I haven't made you anything, I'm sorry, to an extent. there's probably a very good reason for it, and it doesn't mean I don't love you. But yeah, I'm a very, I wouldn't say impulsive knitter, but like I really have to be enjoying what I'm knitting, and I really have to like feel like this person is going to enjoy it. Like I've made things for people that I've just never given to them. You know, I spent all that time on something that I finished and was decided wasn't right for them. I didn't want to give it to them. I don't want to burden them with something that they might feel obligated to keep, despite the fact that I I don't know where I was going with that sentence, but yeah, just be obligated to keep because I'm the one who made it, and they don't want to offend me. So yeah, and it takes time to figure out what people will like. It takes time to make things that people will like, and yeah, and some people that I know just don't wear a lot of knitwear. So yeah, if I could knit everyone things, I would, but I'm only one person. I have only 2 hands, and only so much time. So yeah, I think we need to stop feeling bad about that, about being one person with only 2 hands. And I mean, most of us don't make money out of this, right? So we generally have to have other jobs as well, and other things that we do. So yeah, there isn't that much time either. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. And that is pretty much all I have in terms of unpopular knitting opinions. I probably have more, but I see my battery is running low as well. I should have charged that while I was doing the SD card, but yes, and so we learn. But yes, thank you so much for sitting with me. If you were knitting as well, I hope you got some nice rows in, I hope. And if you weren't knitting, if you were doing something else or nothing else, which I struggle to believe that you would just sit and watch, you know, yeah, I like to do other things while I listen to this kind of video. But yeah, I hope you had a good time with me. I had a good time with you as well. And before I forget, I just want to remind you that there's a subscribe button. If you would like to see more of this, then please hit that. And the like button also lets me know if you enjoyed this video. So yeah, that would be great. If you have any other unpopular knitting opinions, or even if you agree with me, or if you disagree with me as well, everything is up for debate. So yeah, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a chat with some of y'all there. And yeah, thank you very much again for spending this time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.